Hello there friends and welcome. Today's guide is all about the Warpriest class, a class that is surprisingly a lot better than it seems at first. You actually have spellcasting up to level 6 cleric spells, a very powerful weapon enchantment ability just like Magus, a lot of free feats, and some pretty neat unique abilities as well. For this guide, I'll be bringing you two whole builds. The first is going to be a classic Warpriest, focused on a two-handed weapon, a fall shard for extreme critical range and also critical damage. Note that our fall shard will eventually get 68 base damage, for 120 to 177 damage per attack, except we have way more because a lot of bonuses that only show during combat. We get very high strength, and also spellcasting not only with divine spells, up to level 6, but eventually at the late game even full wizard spells up to level 9. Besides our own trickster spell, so that's triple spellcasting we have on a single character. A massive amount of attack bonus, even if you take the short duration buffs we still have enough to hit everything, no matter if you are on unfair, and pretty good hit points too with a lot of self-buffing. And the second, a cult leader Warpriest focused on dual wielding that actually has the most amazing dual wielding weapon damage I have ever seen. Just our base Kukris deal more than 3 great swords at once for 68 damage, so 75 to 142 on our main hand, a massive amount of attacks per round as usual for any dual wielding build, and can eventually easily melt all of the enemies with multiple elemental enchantments on hit, 4 on our main hand, and we actually have even more fire, and then triple elements on our offhand. And as any trickster, we have very high critical range, around half our attacks will be critical hits, and of course, a ×5 critical multiplier on our Kukris damage. Well, alright, so let's talk first about the Warpriest class features and what makes this class so unique over all of the others. The most important one is probably your sacred weapon. So at level 1, your sacred weapon is either the favorite weapon of your deity, in this case we went with Gorum and his favorite weapon is a great sword. And for most of the Warpriest archetypes, also the weapon you choose at level 1 through weapon focus, so you can have more than one sacred weapon. What this ability does is pretty simple. You just turn it on and off through your abilities tab. You can do it any number of times, there's no limit or duration, you just turn it on or off. And whenever you do it, your base weapon damage will increase depending on the level of your Warpriest. Notice a fall shard by default, for example, only has 1d10 base damage. Mine, on the other hand, has 68. You can check your sacred weapon progression. In this chart I have the higher your Warpriest class levels, the stronger your sacred weapon will become. At the beginning it won't make that much of a difference, especially for two-handed weapons that already have higher base weapon damage by default. On the other hand, for low-based weapons like short swords, Kukris and so on, it can matter. As you increase in levels, however, your sacred weapon damage will certainly be able to overcome your normal weapon damage no matter what weapon type you're using. This table is for medium-sized characters like, most of the player races, humans, elves, half-orcs and so on. And what this means is this damage can be increased by also increasing your size, for example. So by default, Kukris only deal 1d4 damage, assuming you are a medium character. Now let's turn sacred weapon on. So we turned it on, and now our Kukris went from 1d4 to 2d8. It's kinda crazy when you consider it, because, well, even a great sword has only 2d6 damage. Now our Kukris actually hit harder than a great sword. And then we can also cast lead blades from the Artifice domain through Lore Religion 2 for a trickster. So now they go from 2d8 to 3d8. And lastly, we can of course use a scroll of legendary proportions to increase that even further. So that's 3d8 to 6d8 damage. Just look at that. A simple Kukris in the hands of our cult leader Warpriest now has 68 damage. Talk about fun, right? I can't possibly see a way of getting any more base weapon damage than with a Warpriest. A single Kukris for us deals more than 3 great swords. It doesn't get any better than that. Besides that, Warpriests also have blessings. Blessings differ based on your deity and the domains they have available. The powers are actually different from the cleric domain, so be sure to check them out. In my build progression, I will show you the ones I consider to be the best. You even gain healing through positive energy fervor and also channel positive energy. Now another very important part of Warpriest is that they can choose the fighter specific feat, so for example, weapon specialization, greater weapon specialization, and even greater weapon focus. The bonuses don't stop there because when it comes to their feat progression, even though by default they only have medium base attack bonus, so a maximum of 15, and slow progression than let's say a fighter or a ranger, they can actually pick their feats as if they had fighter progression. For example, at level 9 I can already pick Improved Critical. By default this feat requires 8 base attack bonus, which I would not have at level 8 as a medium base attack bonus character, only at level 11. Because we are a Warpriest, however, I can get it just fine at level 9. This is great for characters focused on all sorts of different martial feats like 2-weapon fighting characters and also the Vital Strike line of feats, both of which have pretty high base attack bonus requirements. Last but not least, Warpriests can also enchant their weapon, the same as a Magus really, through the Sacred Weapon feature. So starting from level 4, you can enchant your weapons with elemental damage through Flaming, Frost and Shock, and also the King property for an early version of Improved Critical. Eventually this will actually improve, so we get Anarchic, Axiomatic, Holy and Unholy, the best one certainly being Holy, and also Axiomatic for 4d6 irresistible damage against demons. There is a downside to this ability, however, when compared to the Magus or the version Spirit Hunters have, for example, such as Camellia. Warpriests have very low duration of their Sacred Weapon enchantments. You can use it for a number of rounds per day equal to your Warpriest level, but the rounds don't have to be consecutive, so what this means is you first choose your Sacred Weapon enchantments here through your ability tab. You won't be able to have all of them on at the same time, they each cost a different amount, but the best ones are of course Triple Elements for Elemental Barrage, and then Axiomatic. You don't really have any points for more. The reason I don't pick Holy here is because Holy is easier to get through other abilities, like for example, Social himself has the Holy Lance ability, and Scylla can enchant your weapons with Holy through their Holy Sword Paladin spell. Axiomatic on the other hand is super rare. Anyways, you just select the ones you want to turn on, so you turn it on during battle, and notice how I already got a reduction in the number of uses. This will last for 6 seconds, which is equivalent to 1 round, and we have the same amount as your Warpriest level, so that's 20 at max level. 20 rounds, that is. You can just turn it off right after battle ends, as to not drain it further. Now when you reach another battle, just turn it on again. So I won't lie in that you probably will not be able to have your Sacred Weapon enchantments on at all times, unlike a Magus or Camellia, who has way higher duration. On the other hand, because most of the battles will be over in what is pretty much 1 to 2 rounds, you can certainly make use of this if properly managed, especially for the tough battles, such as boss encounters. Now Warpriests also have spellcasting. They can cast up to level 6 divine spells from the same spells that clerics have access to. They do have lower spell progression, however, that you can check here. They only get level 6 spells at level 16. The good part is, honestly, the best cleric spells are the low level spells, especially the ones at level 4, which you'll get decently early. A cleric would get level 4 spells at level 7, a Warpriest gets it at level 10, not that much later. And you still have access to the best of the cleric buffs. Lastly, Warpriests can also enchant their armor with the Sacred Armor feature, which is pretty much the same as Sacred Weapon as far as the enchantments, except the enchantments are different. You have Elemental Resistance, which is honestly kinda useless. You are much better off just casting Resist Energy and Protection from Energy Communal if you want your party members to have Elemental Resistance. Spell Resistance, which can be somewhat good, but you know, as a Warpriest, you can just cast the Spell Resistance spell for a lot higher spell resistance amount. The best one, at least in my opinion, is certainly the Fortification feature. In my case, I only have Fortification 75 turned on, because it's pretty expensive. What Fortification does is, it's a staple percentage chance of avoiding critical hits in sneak attack. For example, 75 Fortification means whenever the enemy attacks you with a critical hit, or a sneak attack, you have 75% chance of turning that attack into just a normal hit, so you'll fully avoid the extra damage from the critical hit or the sneak attack. Because this applies to every single one of the enemy attacks, it's a pretty useful ability. And the best part is, it has a different amount of uses, so while I only have 19 rounds left of my Sacred Weapon enchantments, I still have 20 rounds of Sacred Armor because I did not turn it on. They work the same way, you turn it on and now I have 19 rounds left. And this will only become 18 after 6 seconds have passed from now to total a single round. Like I said, just go with Fortification. Alright, so for our first Warpriest build, I'm going with just a normal default Warpriest. It is true that some of the archetypes can be useful, but they do end up losing a lot. Besides Cult Leader, which is the one I'll focus for my dual wielding sneak attacking Warpriest later on. Out of them all, Champion of the Faith is the one that stands out the most, because you do gain a smite ability that can highly increase your damage. On the other hand, you lose access to all of your weapon enchantments, which honestly, in a game of Elemental Barrage and all of the synergy it has with physical attacks, especially for dual wielding characters who can have multiple elements on both their weapons, I don't think it is worth losing your sacred weapon enchantments, not at all. Shield Bearer can also be fun if you want a shield bashing character, so a character that attacks his main weapon and uses his shield both for defense and also offense. The reason I'm not focusing on it here is because I'll soon release a Shield Basher guide, in which I'll bring a class that I find is far more suited for it. So for this guide I'll cover the normal Warpriest as a two-handed, and also the Cult Leader as a dual wielder. So let's get started with our two-hander build. Let's pick the default Warpriest. For the race, well, you might already know I really like going with human. The extra feat matters a lot in the early game. The bonuses to ability scores is pretty neat too, because you can just pick whatever to increase. The normal Warpriest, however, does get quite a lot of bonus combat feats, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bonus feats. So for this build, you can also go with another race of your choice, if you don't fancy humans. For the background, go with Street Urchin and Pickpocket as usual for the bonus to initiative rolls. For ability points, we want to focus on strength, so 19 strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution. The rest of the points go into wisdom, because it is our main spellcasting attribute, and some of our Warpriest abilities also rely on wisdom. Now because this build, well, at least I do recommend you go with the Trickster spellbook for your greater mythic trick. I suggest you dump Charisma a little bit to increase your intelligence to 12. This way, with headbands later on, you'll have up to 19 intelligence, more even with some other bonuses, to ensure you can cast all of the wizard spells in the game once you get it from the Trickster mythic path. For skills, the choices are mostly up to you. I like going with Athletics because this is a high strength character, Lore Religion because I think it fits a priest type of character, and Wisdom is our highest of all of our mental ability points, and the rest is up to you. I'll just go with Perception here, but you can of course go with Arcana or Knowledge World if you want your character to cook, but with Religion we can at least cover the Corruption when resting. For our level 1 feats, the usual for two-handed builds too, so Power Attack, except we aren't going with Cleave now, because this will be a Falshard build, as I know, another Falshard build, but you know they are the best of the two-handed weapons. You can of course go with a Falchion instead, but if you are starting from the early game, I do think Falshards are a lot better because of the reach, so you can attack from safety behind your tanks. This way the enemies won't hit you, meaning you don't have to devote anything to armor class at all, you can go full offense. For a second level 1 feat, Exotic Weapon Proficiency, and then Falshard. Now your deity selection actually does matter for a Warpriest, because while they don't gain domain powers, they do have blessings, which are based on your deity domains. Because this is also going to be a Trickster build, our alignment also has to fall both in our deity and the Trickster alignment ranges. To keep it simple, I highly suggest you go with Gorum, because Strength and War are amazing blessings for a Warpriest, as I will soon show you. Pick Spontaneous Cure here, and now for your free weapon focus as a Warpriest, Falshard of course. And now we have our blessing selection. All of these abilities here, even though the domains are the same as a Cleric, they work in different ways. For Strength, as a swift action, our Warpriest can gain an enhancement bonus equal to half his Warpriest levels on melee attack rolls, which is what really matters. The best part is, this enhancement bonus will actually stack with whatever enhancement your weapon has, so at the late game you are looking at something like plus 10 to your melee attack bonus. It is true that this only lasts a single round, but it also costs a swift action, so before a tough battle or a tough foe you can just turn it on, and all of your attacks for that round will benefit from this bonus, which is huge. Also, we actually have multiple uses of this per day, so it's not just like a one-use ability. And we can also pick a second blessing, in this case Destruction. You can empower any ally or yourself even with a morale bonus on weapon damage rolls equal to half your level. So just like strength, we are looking at something like up to plus 10 morale damage bonus. The highest morale bonus you can get is usually just plus 4 from the heroic invocation spell, and this is eventually plus 6 over that, so quite a lot of extra damage. And the best part is, unlike strength, which is only a single round, the destruction power lasts for a whole minute, and as I said before, we have multiple uses of this. 1 minute is usually more than enough for any tough battle you might encounter. For your alignment, I would go with Chaotic Good, as this is a trickster. Alright, so at level 2, you'll gain your Positive Energy Fervor ability. This is very similar to the Paladin Lay on Hands, if you already played with a Paladin like Scylla. You can heal either an ally as a standard action, which can provoke an attack of opportunity, so be careful when doing it during combat, or also heal yourself, which is a swift action, so great. It's not a particularly strong ability, but because you can heal yourself as a swift action in combat, it can be useful. As for out of combat, you can always use it to heal allies, so you don't have to spend a lot of potions and so on. But the game does shower you with potions eventually. For your level 3 feat, go with Cleave. This way we can already have what is basically 2 whole attacks just at level 3, pretty early in the game. Certainly enough for the vast majority of chapter 1. Another great thing is that we also get our first Warpriest bonus feat at this level, which is going into Cleaving Finish. So instead of 2 attacks, if we kill one of the enemies with one of our attacks, we'll actually get another one. That's up to 3 attacks just at level 3. For level 4, increase strength, which is also what we are going to increase on all of the other levels. This is also when Warpriests gain the Channel Positive Energy ability, just like Clerics and Oracles. And it is also when we get the very powerful Sacred Weapon ability. For level 5, you can already go with Outflank, but it is a teamwork feat, so your other party members will also need to have it, at least a single one. The reason I don't often go with Outflank early is because most of my party members tend to be medium base attack bonus characters like Oracle, Cleric, Scald, all of your pets, and so on. So they can only gain Outflank at level 7. But if you are playing with a lot of other high base attack bonus characters like Paladin, Fighter, Ranger, and so on, you can choose to pick it earlier. For this level, I prefer to go with Combat Reflexes to enhance our attacks of opportunity. Even without Outflank to generate more attacks, we can still benefit from the boost it gives to our number of attacks of opportunity per round, and also it does let you perform these attacks even when flat-footed, so at the start of battle. Now level 6 is when I would pick Weapon Specialization and then Fall Shard. The good thing is, as a Warpriest, we already have the Weapon Focus for free just at level 1. For level 7, go with Outflank as usual. By now all of my characters already have it, so we can truly fully benefit from this. For level 9, the choice is a given: Improved Critical, and then Fall Shard. Now our Fall Shard will have 15 to 20 critical range, which is huge, and will eventually become 11 to 20 when we get our special Trickster feats. For a bonus feat, go with Seize the Moment to finish our very powerful Teamwork Attack of Opportunity based feats. And because our weapon does have very high critical range, we are certainly going to benefit a lot from these feats. Level 11 is when I would pick Greater Weapon Focus and Fall Shard. For our level 12 bonus feat, Greater Weapon Specialization and Fall Shard. So now we have our full Weapon Focus and Weapon Specialization feats just as if we were a fighter. Now as usual for any Trickster build, remember to get Perception rank 1 and rank 2 tricks before you enter your level 13 to normal progression. So as I've just said, for level 13, the first critical Trickster feat, Improved Critical and then Fall Shard. For level 15, the second Trickster feat. As for a bonus combat feat, by this point we truly already have the best of the normal feats the game has to offer. This is why I said it is somewhat safe to go with another race instead of human, because your end feats will be somewhat up to you, but human does help speed things up by a lot. I would personally go with Great Cleave, only so we can then later on pick Improved Cleaving Finish. But you can also go with something like Improved Initiative. As for level 17, the last of the Trickster feats, for a very big increase in critical damage with our 4 shards. For your level 18 bonus feat, Improved Cleaving Finish. So now we have a massive increase of attacks per round. Because we do very high damage, whenever we kill an enemy, we can just keep going. The more enemies we kill, the more free attacks we'll get. Combine this with all of the free attacks of opportunity we are getting from our teamwork feats, and well, everything is just going to explode. For your level 19 feat, I would actually go with Meta Magic and completely normal spell. There's some pretty great level 1 spells that we can turn into infinite use as cantrip through this feat. Another great thing about completely normal spell is that you can reduce the level of all your spells. So let's say you want more castings of level 4 spells. You can just reduce their level to level 3 and have access to them at level 3 as well. Of course, you can choose to pick this earlier, like at level 13 the earliest, but at that point it will have to compete with the special Trickster feats. Now we are at last at level 20 for our last ability point in strength. And this is also when we gain the very powerful Warpriest Capstone ability, Aspect of War. This is one of the best capstones in the game. Once per day, as a swift action, you can equalize your base attack bonus with that of your class levels, as Warpriests have medium base attack bonus. With this, for a whole minute, they'll get the equivalent of 20 base attack bonus just like a fighter instead of just 15. This does result in an increase of not only attacks per round for an extra attack, but also damage, because the higher your base attack bonus, the higher your power attack bonus. There's even more bonuses to this. We gain Unpenetrable 10 damage reduction, which can be pretty good. And lastly, whatever blessings you use won't count against your daily limit, so you have infinite blessing uses. Talk about stacked. It is just a once per day ability, but you know it's a swift action, and an entire minute is quite enough when you consider boss battles and other tough encounters. Alright, so let's now talk about our two-handed Warpriest Mythic Progression. I like going with Instrument of Freedom as usual to enchant the weapons of all our allies with the holy property, including paths and ranged weapons. But as a melee character you can also go with Close to the Abyss if you want an extra gore attack per round. In the case of a two-handed, I don't find it that useful, but you know, at the very least it's an extra attack, and we do have a high amount of strength to benefit from this. I just prefer the support Instrument of Freedom gives you, because you can eventually enchant the weapons of all of your party members before tough battles, and both the duration and uses scales with each of your mythic ranks. Now for your level 1 Mythic Warpriest choice, I would go with Ever Ready to further empower our attacks of opportunity, because we do have a high critical range weapon, which is perfect for this. Elemental Barrage is something I'm going to save for Mythic rank 3, because at the early levels, Elemental Barrage won't make that much of a difference. Also, unlike a Magus who has way higher duration for his elemental enchantments, our Warpriest is somewhat limited. We only have a duration equal to a round worth of our class levels. So first, I prefer going with Ever Ready, as it is more of a permanent bonus, but you can of course go with Elemental Barrage earlier if you prefer. For Mythic rank 2, go with Mythic Power Attack, to increase our damage even further because we are a two-handed character. For Mythic rank 3, now this is when I would pick Elemental Barrage. By now we already have way higher duration to our Sacred Weapon. The damage is also now 3d6 per Elemental Barrage proc, instead of just 1d6 at level 1. Now when it comes to your Trickster Mythic tricks, remember I already have a guide covering everything you need to know about Trickster, linked to the side here and also down below in the video description. So I'll keep it shorter for now. Go with Arcana 1. For Mythic level 4, Improved Mythic Critical and then Fall Shard. Now your Mythic trick choices here is very important. Perception rank 1 and also Perception rank 2, so we can gain access to the very powerful Trickster critical feats. This is also when you should resume your build progression from level 13 onwards, the normal progression that is. For our level 5 mythic ability, as usual I really like going with less than here just to ensure our character survivability. This is especially useful on hard and unfair, and you can of course pick it earlier. Let's say if you are on unfair, then you might consider picking it at level 1 instead of Ever Ready. It's one of the best defensive abilities in the game, and I already have a guide link to the side here and also down below on the best generic mythic abilities and feats for all sorts of characters, melee, ranged, and casters. But if you don't care for less than, because this is a character with reach weapons who can attack from safety, you can also go with Mythic Charge for now. For another mythic trick, go with Athletics rank 1 to help you remove negative conditions from yourself. For Mythic level 6, Mythic Weapon Specialization and then Fall Shard. For more mythic tricks, this choice is very important, because it will change the greater mythic trick we get at the next rank. For a Warpriest, I really like going with the Wizard spellbook, so Infuse Magic Device, which is UMD rank 1, and then Reuse Magic Device. Having access to a full Wizard spellbook that scales with your class levels is huge. Especially because when it comes to a Warpriest, it's almost like having a Mythic Theurge character. We'll have access to Divine spells up to level 6, so the best of the supportive ones, and also access to all of the arcane spells in the game as far as Wizard. Talk about stacked, right? So Infuse Magic Device and Reuse Magic Device. For Mythic level 7, I really like Mythic Charge. especially when you combine this with the Pounce ability from, let's say, a Scald, who can provide it to every single one of your party members. You get this bonus applied multiple times, depending on your number of attacks per round. It's a very powerful ability overall. For another trick, World 1. And also now use Magic Device rank 3 for our full Wizard spellbook. For Mythic level 7, Mythic Weapon Focus and Fall Shard. We now get double our Weapon Focus bonus, so +4 instead of just 2. For another trick, Lore Religion rank 1, and then World rank 2 to further increase our critical range. As for Mythic level 9, the choice is really up to you. The extra damage from Unrelenting Assault isn't going to matter that much at this point, because you know, we can just heal everything in a single round usually. So that's just +2 to damage at most. And you can always pick Archmage Armor 2 for a very big boost in your armor class. But on the other hand, we are a reach character, so we won't be getting hit that much. As I said, the choice doesn't really matter, and it's going to depend on your playstyle if you want a little bit more damage or way higher armor class. For another trick, I'll go with Mobility rank 1. This is just to increase your movement speed, but it doesn't really matter. For an improved Mythic trick, Lore Religion rank 2, and also the Artifice domain so we can cast Lead Blaze to further improve our damage. Now starting from patch 1.2, I believe this ability will be fixed, so you'll also be able to pick another domain. You can certainly go with something like Animal, just for the Animal Companion. But you know, we are pretty late in the game by now. Now, since the new DLC is coming at the start of March, which will make Mythic rank 10 a lot more important. For Mythic 10, well, Knowledge World rank 3 can be great for a greater Mythic trick, because it does give you access to all of the feats in the game regardless of any restriction or prerequisite. And as far as companions, you can just respect them and fully benefit from this the earliest your companion was recruited, like even as early as level 2 for Scylla, Camellia and so on. And for another Mythic feat, you can always go with Flawless Attacks. Alright, so let's talk now about our Cult Leader Warpriest build. Unlike my other build, which was two-handed, this one is a dual wielding character. The advantages of Cult Leader are basically, well, first we have sneak attack progression, 6 die of sneak attack at maximum level, starting at level 3. And also the very unique Hiding Plain Sight ability, so you can enter stealth even during battle when you are surrounded by enemies, which can contribute to your defenses, and I know a lot of people like this ability from, let's say, the Shadow Dancer class from the Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition days. You also get a +2 bonus to your stealth checks, and even the special Enthrall ability, which lets you fascinate enemies around you. This can be somewhat useful, at least as far as the early game. Fascinated enemies can't really do anything, until you attack them, that is. Now the downside is that you have less bonus feats. You actually only have 2 bonus feats, one at level 6, and the other only at level 18. Also, your weapon proficiency is more limited. You are only proficient with all of the simple weapons and the rogue weapons, but we can overcome that by picking a deity which has our weapon of choice. You also don't gain weapon focus for free, so it is a very feat-starved build, because we'll have to invest in Teamwork feat, the Dual Wielding feats, and some other nice feats. And this is why I strongly suggest you go with Human for your Cult Leader. You really are going to need the extra feat we gain at level 1. For background, the same Street Urchin and Pickpocket. Now as far as ability points, this is going to be different as this will be a Dexterity character. So let's set our Dexterity to around 19, 14 Constitution, 14 Wisdom, and we also need a little bit of Intelligence just so we can later get the Wizard spellbook through the Trickster Mythic trick. You can always dump Charisma to increase something else. As a matter of fact, it is what I'm going to do, so 8 Charisma, just so we can start with 12 Strength, as we can only really add our Dexterity to damage at Mythic rank 2, so that's going to be, what, level 8? We can still use a little bit of damage from our Strength here, until then that is. For skills, as this is a Dexterity character and we have access to almost all of the skills as class skills, Trickery and Stealth of course, Mobility 2, I also like Perception, and the rest is up to you. I'll just go with Lore Religion here. As for your level 1 feats, well, Weapon Finesse is a given, and then 2 Weapon Fighting. Now just like my two-handed Warpriest, your deity selection is also of utmost importance for your Cult Leader. In this case, we are going with Lamashtu because she does have Kukris as her favorite weapon. She even has Falchion too for 2 favorite weapons, and honestly, both of these weapons are simply amazing because of their extreme critical range. As for domains, go with Strength, as I've said in my two-handed Warpriest. Unfortunately, her other blessings aren't really that useful. Chaos gives you extra damage against lawful creatures. We don't have any until the DLC comes, that is. Evil, on the other hand, is more damage against good aligned creatures, but we don't fight any. Trickery can grant you a single mirror image, which isn't that good. And as a trickster character, we can later get access to the mirror image spell anyways. So I would just go with Chaos in preparation for the DLC, because at least it's going to have some use then. And in this case, as a cult leader, well, I'll be going with Chaotic Evil. I think it fits the class the best. But you can also pick Chaotic Neutral instead, or even Neutral Evil. For your level 3 feat, go with Combat Reflexes, because we do have an extreme amount of dexterity for even more attacks of opportunity, which is amazing when you consider our very high critical range weapon, Kukris, and also the fact we are dual wielding them for even more attacks. At level 4, increase dexterity, and this is also what you'll increase on all of the other levels. For level 5, I'll be going with Outflank. I do tend to pick it later, but because we are so feat starved as a cult leader, I'm picking it now. For level 6, with a bonus feat, Improved to Weapon Fighting. For our level 7 feat, I would go with Seize the Moment to finish our attack of opportunity boosting feats. Even better for dual wielding characters. For level 9, the choice is a given. Improved Critical and Kukri. For level 11, Greater to Weapon Fighting. Now, as usual, before level 13, be sure to pick Perception 1 and Perception 2 tricks at Mythic level 4 with a Trickster. So for level 13, the first Trickster special critical feat. And for level 15, the second, so improved critical Kukri. Now our Kukris will already critical on an 11 to 20, that's close to 50% critical chance, which is huge for a dual wielding character. For level 17, our last Trickster special feat. For your bonus feat at level 18, I'll be going with Piranha Strike for even higher damage when dual wielding. Yes, I know we get it somewhat late, but the problem with a cult leader, as I said before, we are really feat starved. As for your last feat at level 19, I would go with completely normal spell as usual. Yes, I do know that this build doesn't actually make use of the weapon focus and weapon specialization feats. The problem is, as I said before, we are very feat starved. I didn't really find any space for these feats. At most, I imagine you could skip both combat reflexes and also seize the moment. But even then, because this is a dexterity based character with a massive amount of dexterity bonus, you will be missing on a lot of extra free attacks by not having combat reflexes at least. So I'll be going with Double Slice now, but you can also, as for level 20, just our last increase in dexterity. Now as far as Mythic Progression for our cult leader Warpriest, in this case I really recommend you go with Close to the Abyss, because we won't have as high reach as a dual wielding character as opposed to a two-hander who can use reach weapons. And all of our extra sneak attack damage will also be added to the score attack that we gain for free. For your level 1 Mythic, ever ready as usual. For Mythic level 2, Mythic Weapon Finesse, also a given, so we can now get our full dexterity modifier added to damage instead of strength. For Mythic level 3, Elemental Barrage. As I've said before, by now we already have way more use of our Sacred Weapon ability for multiple elemental enchantments. For a Kukri dual wielder, this is also when we get the very powerful triple element Kukri. So even if you don't have access to your Sacred Weapon elemental enchantments at all time, you still have a Kukri that has permanent triple elements to it for easy elemental barrage proccing. For the allocation of this Kukri, just go to my gear section. The trick selection is basically the same as my... The trick selection is almost the same as my two-handed Warpriest, so Arcana 1 for our first trick. For Mythic level 4, Improved Mythic Critical and Kukri. And also very important, Perception 1 rank and Perception 2 rank. Now it is safe for you to level your character from level 13 onwards, through the normal progression. Now for Mythic level 5, as usual last stand, as I always say, you can pick this earlier instead of ever ready, so you have access to it as soon as level 1 for more defenses, and also Knowledge World 1. For Mythic rank 6, Mythic 2 Weapon Fighting, and as usual, infuse Magic Device and reuse Magic Device. For Mythic level 7, the same, Mythic Charge. As a dual wielding character with Pounce, we get a massive amount of extra damage from Charge, and also Law Religion rank 1, and of course, use Magic Device 3 for our full Wizard spellbook. For Mythic level 8, Mythic Piranha Strike for even higher damage. I'll also be going with Trickery rank 1 here because we do have high Trickery, and at the next level we can get Trickery rank 2 to easily dispel the late game enemies, and Knowledge World rank 2 here for even more criticals. For Mythic rank 9 I would go with Unrelenting Assault. Because we are dual wielding, the extra bonus to damage matters a lot to us. After all, it is applied to both our weapons. But as usual, you can always go with Archmage Armor as well. And now you can choose between either Trickery rank 2 for a very powerful dispelling ability, or Lore Religion rank 2 and the Artifice domain for higher weapon damage through lead blades. Now let's talk gear for our Warpriest characters. Most of the slots are going to be the same, the only difference is really the weapons. For the amulets, as usual, Velex's Magnifying Amulet to highly increase either your dexterity or your strength in the case of our two-handed Warpriest. Both builds don't really need to wear any armor. Our two-handed character because he has reach, and our dual wielder because he has a lot of dexterity. So for the armor slot, I would go at the beginning of the game with chain shirts, and later on Haramakis as soon as you get very high dexterity. The shirt slot is actually pretty unique for Warpriest because we do have, I think this is actually the only gear in the game that directly enhances a Warpriest class ability. So the Tunic of Ardent Warpriest can give you an additional 3 uses of your Fervor ability. Finding it is pretty easy as well, all you have to do is be on chapter 3, do the quest to find out about the dragon Terendalev's hideout, head there, you'll meet the Golden Dragon Hell, and then you'll find the Tunic of the Ardent Warpriest in one of the bodies there. For the belt slots, as usual, belts that increase both your strength and constitution for the two-handed character, and dexterity and constitution for our dual wielder. The reason I don't have a belt of dexterity here is because my boots already highly increase my dexterity. The glove slot is also the same, Fencer's Gift, and the reason is this actually empowers both two-handed and also dual-wielded weapons. As for the boot slot, as I've just mentioned, Ronak Sacrifice as usual for the insane increase to dexterity. And I already have a guide on how to get this very missable, very powerful ultimate pair of boots linked to the side here. If you don't care for it, you can always use the Boots of Stampede as well, at least with our two-handed character who has athletics, to highly increase his charging damage. For the helmet slot, after you get the Wizard spellbook, you certainly want headbands of Mental Perfection that increase both your wisdom and intelligence. Before that, you can always go with headbands of wisdom to enhance your Warpriest spells. For the goggles slots, the Goggles of Piercing Gaze as always for the extra bonus against outsider enemies like all of the demons. Cloaks of Resistance with the highest modifier you can find to further increase your saving throws. Now the ring slot is going to be a bit different. For both builds I do like the Ring of Evasion, especially for our Cult Leader who has very high dexterity, to reduce the damage you take from enemy area of effect spells and abilities that target reflex. For your two-handed Warpriest, go with the Ring of Imminent Demise for a +2 competence bonus on attack and damage with two-handed weapons. As for our Cult Leader, the Ring of Guiding Star to further enhance his initiative, as this build doesn't really have the feats to spare, so you won't be getting Improved Initiative or Mythic Improved Initiative. As for the Braces slot, the Braces of Heavy Hand for our Cult Leader, because they do increase the damage when dual wielding. And for the two-handed Warpriest, the Braces of Abrupt Onslaught to enhance your sneak attack damage, and as a trickster we do gain sneak attack for free. The Quickslots is the same for both. A Wand of Heal that you can find at Pulura's Fall after solving the puzzle there, because as a trickster we can get infinite uses of this, so that's infinite heal. Also a Greater Quicken Metamagic Rod, just so we can quicken some of our spells. Most importantly, the ultimate buff in the entire game, Trick Fate, which only tricksters can get. The Dragon Familiar Jousting Axe too for even more elemental damage added to our attacks. And I already have a guide link to the site here on how to get this pretty neat pet. The other slots don't matter as much. I have the Signet of House Vespertilio here, just for a nice boost to a skill of choice. But for around chapter 3 you can also go with the Old Grimoire to increase the number of Warpriest spells slots you have. 3 for level 1, 2 for level 2 and 2 for level 3, pretty great, as Warpriests do have lower spell progression than clerics. Now let's talk about the long-awaited weapon slot. For our Cult Leader we are going with Kukris. Once again I already have a guide linked to the side here, explaining what are the best Kukris in the game and the exact location of them, so for this I'll keep it short. The Astringent Pacifier Kukri in our main hand because it does have very high acid damage, And for the rest of the elemental damage we can just enchant it through our Sacred Weapon ability. And for the offhand, the ever so useful triple element Shock Flaming Corrosive Kukri +3. In this case the elemental damage is permanent. As for our two-handed Warpriest, I would just go with Finian as a +3 fall shard and later on as a +5. Once again, I also have a guide here on how to find the best fall shards in the game and all of their locations, their stats and so on. Now when it comes to spell allocation for your Warpriest, as far as your normal Warpriest spells, which is what you'll have for most of the game, I already have a guide talking about all of the best divine spells, so please be sure to check that. The same for Wizard when you get this Wizard spellbook. I also have a guide for all of the best arcane spells, buffing, debuffing, crowd control spells, damage spells, all of that. But to keep it simple, when you gain your Wizard spellbook, you should definitely focus on Sense Vitals to increase your sneak attack damage, Mage Armor and Shield for higher armor class. True Strike is amazing because with completely normal meta magic we can achieve infinite uses of this, Genie Kind for more elemental damage, and Transformation to equalize our attack bonus with that of a fighter, so the same as our level. Don't forget Firebrand you for even more elemental damage, and Icy Body for the immunity to critical hits and ability damage. So for our two-handed Warpriest, we can actually get up to 114 to 171 damage, as usual missing some bonuses that only show during combat. So let us see how our two-handed Warpriest fares in combat now. As far as damage, let's begin by charging at the Balor here, who is the main threat. This is without Fortune Hex and also the Trick Fate spell. The Balor already exploded. So with a critical hit we dealt close to 700 damage, just on our main hit, because the other procs of damage here all come from the same attack. We have a proccing of Elemental Barrage here for 54, and another one here for 79, besides some secondary sources of elemental damage. And we just kill everything else as well. So on a normal hit we do around 140 damage, and then more of course from the other procs. So certainly more than 200 damage, if not close to 300 even. A nice amount of damage here too. Too bad we aren't on the Devil Mythic path. Alright, so let's see our Cult Leader in action now. So let's just charge at the Galus Stormcaller here. We have Pounce, so he'll probably melt pretty fast considering all of the damage we can do in a single round. Let's see how it goes. There we go. And everything just melted. Now look how crazy our damage can be. So with a critical hit we dealt around 500 damage just from the main hit. All of these other procs of damage here below come from the same hit as well. We have 39 electricity. The locusts aren't actually demons, so they don't really have electricity immunity as far as I'm aware. Now we get a proc from Elemental Barrage for 94 damage, another fire damage proc here, another from cold damage from Genie Kind, and lastly another proc of Elemental Barrage, all from the same singular hit. Meanwhile the Purse Succubus took more than 600 damage from the main hit, and then once again all of the secondary sources here come from the same attack. Even our mere bite attack dealt a lot of damage, and we have 10 attacks, so the bite dealt 68 on a normal hit, and all of the secondary procs also all come from the bite. Just look at that. Our Gore also dealt good damage too. And of course our damage could have been a lot higher because we are basically fighting solo here, so we don't actually get any procs of sneak attack. Because we have such high Elemental Barrage damage, even the swarms who are immune to physical damage take a lot of damage per attack. On a normal hit meanwhile we dealt around 100 damage just from the main attack because... So let's send our dog here and see if we can flank this locust. We actually have reach because of our enlarge spell. Alright, so let's just have the dog attack once to proc the flanking. This should be enough.
Burn! Slice! Behead! Did you like that? What?
Unfortunately, we can't even see the damage because of how fast the locust just exploded there. Okay, so we did get sneak attack now. Critical hit and sneak attack. 523 damage, and 17 d6 sneak attack. Talk about a lot. That's what, 700 to 800 damage total on a critical hit, from just a single attack, and we have 10 of them. Alright, so this was it for my Warpriest class guide, everyone. Don't forget to post any comments down below if you think there's something I missed, or that you find would improve this guide and build. As usual, if you found this guide useful, then please remember to support the channel if you can, by liking, subscribing, and even becoming a member to access some exclusive and pretty neat perks. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends!